Hi, beautiful people. Welcome to the Fort Salem Library, where we read you your fanfiction. So sit down or don't, relax or don't, and enjoy these stories in a way you have not before. We at Fort Salem Library do not own Motherland Fort Salem or any of the related characters. The Motherland Fort Salem series is created by Elliot Lawrence and owned by Freeform. This story is a work of fanfiction and is meant for entertainment only. We are not making any profit from these stories. All rights of the original Motherland Fort Salem story belong to Freeform. We also do not own Little Bat Pup, or any of its original characters and storylines. We did, however, get permission from the author to read their story. This story was created and written by Johannes_motivational_insults, and you can find the link in our show notes. This story is being read to you by me, Britt. Little Bat Pup, Chapter 1. It was supposed to be a quick trip to the store, in and out. Today's to-do list is ominous for more reasons than one, and Nikta is going to need at least 2 hours at home to recover before the last item on the agenda. Unfortunately, her wife is even more distractible than she is. "Oh my God, it's Nick! Look!" Tally squeals, yanking on her hand and dragging her out of the main aisle. Nikta rolls her eyes, but can't entirely hide her smile as she allows Tally to pull her off their intended path. They are here to buy curtains for the nursery, nothing else. Maybe some snacks if Tally's feeling peckish, but that's it. Tally's words. Nikta just smiled and nodded, knowing full well Tally would break the second they walked past the baby section. Almost any shopping trips these days inevitably devolves into Tally cooing over various outfits and accessories, while Nikta tries not to laugh at how utterly adorable her wife is. To be fair, Tally's not the only one to have caught the nesting bug. Nikta's actually been the one doing most of the literal nesting. Things like researching baby-proofing, and painting the nursery, and buying furniture. She's already ordered a rocking chair, and she was assembling the crib this morning before Tally poked her head in, and apparently had some kind of hormonal surge that required her to fuck Nikta silly right there on that floor. Something about daddy vibes. So yeah, they were already running late, even before this latest excursion. And Nikta might pretend to be annoyed, and she might feel ready to combust if she even thinks about what's coming this afternoon, but she can't deny the warm tug in her chest as Tally leads her into the den of inevitable distraction. She's excited about the whole thing. She's just never been the expressive type, prone to hard eyes and shrieking fits, especially over something like dinosaur bibs. Tally, on the other hand. "Rrr, rrr," Tally growls badly, freehand making a claw as she holds the set of bibs up for Nikta to see. She's trying to scold to match the roar, but her cheeks are tight with a grin, eyes alight. It's nearly impossible to turn her down when she gets excited like this, so Nikta doesn't even try. "Sure, why not?" Nikta relents easily with a smile and a casual shrug. "Dinosaurs are awesome." Grinning triumphantly, Tally drapes him over her arm. "We're gonna totally confuse the cashier about the gender of our baby again." Nikta shrugs once more. "Not our fault civilians are so weirdly rigid about that shit." "And the army isn't?" scoffs Tally. "Oh, they definitely are, just in a different way," says Nikta. "Part of why I didn't like it there, you know that." Tally twitches her mouth in sympathy and gives Nikta's shoulder a squeeze. She's one of the few people Nikta's opened up to about her disassociation with gender as a concept. How no matter how she presents, it always feels like a disguise. How sometimes she feels like one of the guys and other times it's all about the girl power. Sometimes both at once. How usually it's neither, and how that leaves her feeling isolated and adrift in this strange world of pink and blue, navy and brown. It's confusing enough to experience, let alone explain, so she usually doesn't. Being both Tally's wife and the father of her child is a bit of a mindfuck, but it also feels appropriate. She's everything and nothing. Averting her eyes, Nikta wanders towards a rather girly display halfway down the aisle. Should we get another doll to really drive the point home? Thought you didn't want to waste time and money in this section, teases Tally. Too late, Nicta shoots back, matching her smirk. It fades slightly as her eyes drift back to the dolls. I want my daughter to have the chance to be whatever she wants to be, you know? They never asked the ultrasound techs to tell them the sex of the baby, but they never needed to. Their child is genetically Nicta's, thanks to some creative shape-shifting, so there's no Y chromosomes in the mix. The Army had only recently approved same-sex handfasting, one of many concessions they made to the spree for their help in ending the war. And Tally didn't want to complicate their situation by crossing lines with the Imperative's finest breeding stock. The thought of Tally carrying someone else's baby made Nicta feel vaguely homicidal anyway. But Tally wanted kids even if the Imperative was no longer allowed to enforce those obligations the way they used to, so that meant Nicta had to find a way. Shifting into someone else's form is one thing. Shifting pieces of your own is another altogether. Nicta was admittedly nervous about fucking things up permanently, down there. But after a few experiments with growing extra fingers and toes, she was confident she could pull it off with no lasting effects. She was less confident her rotten eggs would turn out to be viable little swimmers, but here they are. The risk was definitely worth the results, and the look on the Imperatrix's face. She can't deny she enjoys its versatility either. Tally was a good sport about the whole thing, offering encouragement and assuring her there was really no pressure even though there clearly was. She did razz Nicta about the potential for dysfunction at her age, because beyond the innocent smile she's a total shit, but she was surely mistaken. The novelty of the situation was plenty arousing, and besides, it's Tally. How could Nicta ever have that problem with her? And when Tally ghosted her fingers over her bulge, and her lips up her neck and gasped, "I can't wait to have your babies," against her ear, well, that did things to her. No, it was not a problem, not at all. An arm looping around Nicta's shoulders draws her out of her thoughts and into Tally's side, and she instinctively leans into the warmth and comfort. And she will, declares Tally, one hand resting on Nicta's shoulder, and the other on the bump of her belly. You saw to that. A proud smile quirks Nicta's lips at the reminder. That's her favorite concession of all. I didn't mean her career, but point taken. Tally presses a kiss to Nicta's temple, then turns her head to tip it sideways against hers. Eyeing up the display with a hum, she muses. We do have a lot of dolls already. Yeah, we're probably good, Nicta concedes. Releasing her with a final squeeze, Tally turns and promptly gasps, flying across the aisle so fast that Nicta wonders if she picked up teleportation at some point. Oh my goddess, what about this? Chuckling under her breath, Nicta turns and finds herself face to face with a tiny gray onesie. It takes her a second to figure out what Tally's so excited about, but as her eyes flick from the matching cap with pointed ears to the pleated fabric connected to arms and torso, it suddenly clicks. Warmth rises in her chest, but she shakes her head, doing her best to stifle a smile. The outfit is adorable, but her pride has its limits. No, she says. No way. Oh, come on, she can be your little Bat Pup, insists Tally, eyes bugging out the way they do. Baby Batan! Baby Craven, technically, Nicta counters, cocking an eyebrow. Yes, the baby is also hers, but there's no question whose name they're passing on. Tally, the last of her line. It's the matrilineal tradition anyway. And to be honest, Batan wasn't exactly the greatest name to be saddled with even before Nicta became the world's most wanted terrorist. Unfortunately, in witch culture, particularly army culture, your name is everything. She has no desire to pass that burden on. You're her mother too, insists Tally. She's just as much yours as mine, and I bet she'll inherit that whole thing from you, you know, like she puffs up her chest and scrunches her face into an exaggerated skull. I'm the knight. Something cold slices down the back of Nicta's neck, stiffening her posture as the smirk slips off her face. Tally doesn't notice, too busy chuckling at her own joke and eyeing up the stupid onesie. They should make these in adult size, she muses. Maybe you'd fit in a big kid one, then you could match. That does it. Forget it. snaps Nicta, arms crossing over her chest. Tally blinks up. What? It's stupid, declares Nicta. We're not buying it. Tally's face falls, and she clutches the outfit tied to her chest, like she needs to protect its little onesie feelings. But it's so cute! It's stupid, and our baby will look stupid in it, Nicta insists, voice and eyes hard. Put it back. But, Tally's lip quivers, big brown eyes glistening with oncoming tears. But I want to see... A sob pops out, cutting her off as her face crumbles. And a second cold rush in as many moments washes over Nicta, as her good sense overcomes her ego. She is fucked up. Badly. Shit, she mutters, stepping in to wrap a comforting arm around her wife's back. It's okay, Tell. We can buy it. No, sobs Telly, voice cracking. You don't like it. Telly starts fully weeping in the middle of the store, and Nicta's oh shit meter goes through the roof. Her nerves light on fire and everything slows down as panic sets in and she becomes hyper-aware of her surroundings. The buzzing lights overhead, the random concerned passerby popping her head into the aisle, the army couple shopping down at the other end, who's pretty sure she's overheard the entire exchange. The weight of their collective glares presses down on her chest, squeezing her ribs like a vice as her heart hammers them from the inside. And she's overcome by the urge to burrow into Tally's chest until it all goes away, as if this isn't her fucking fault. In moments like this, it's impossible to forget the other reason Nicta was hesitant to knock Tally up herself. Even in her army days, she never planned to procreate, skirting around suitors and jumping through hoops to avoid handfesting and the expectations that came with it. Even if she had been interested in men, the pregnancy thing squicked her out, and always had. But far more than she feared childbirth, Nicta feared being a terrible mother. She was temperamental and impulsive, hardly the most maternal qualities, and it's not like she had the greatest examples set for her in the first place. From the first time she met the Imperatrix, she could never shake that deep fear lurking at her core, the fear that she'd fuck her kid up the way her mom fucked her up. She still can't shake it, especially when those undesirable qualities of hers come home to roost. It would be bad enough if she was the third parent to someone else's kid. It's so much worse if it's her own flesh and blood, if she brought a child into this world and caused it only pain and suffering, and if she can't even get through a simple shopping trip without snapping and making her pregnant wife break down in tears in the middle of Marshall's for God's sake. What the fuck does she think she's doing parenting a child? Sucking in a deep breath, Nicta gives her head a sharp shake and forces herself to focus. It's too late to second-guess that decision now. All she can do is try to be the best version of herself for her wife and children. She doesn't want to hurt them, but she's sure as shit not abandoning them either. She may not be an especially good person, but she's better than that, better than her. Sending the onlookers a guilty wince, she hopes will get them to clear out. Nicta gathers Tally into her arms and kisses her temple. Tally, honey, she murmurs. It's okay, I'm not mad at you. We can get the baby anything you want. Tally shakes her head, but willingly tucks her head into Nicta's shoulder as she cries herself out. Nicta swallows the guilt and bile rising in her throat and calmly rubs her back, stroking her hair and making quite shushing noises against her ear. It takes a minute, but finally the sobs recede in the residual whimpers and Tally wipes her eyes first on Nicta's shoulder, then with the back of her hand as she straightens up. Her expression is beyond sheepish. Sorry, she mutters. I didn't mean to cry all over you. Nicta's eyebrows arch. You're sorry? It wasn't worth getting upset over, shrugging self-consciously. Tally glances down at the batsuit in her hand and turns to hang it back up. Tally, stop, says Nicta, reaching in to block her path. We should buy it, really. When Tally gives her a doubtful look, she insists. It is stupid, but it's also cute, you're right. Tally huffs in amusement, dislodging more tears and promptly a sniffle. I'm right, she teases, smirking cheekily. Wow, are you feeling okay? Mirroring the expression, Nicta retorts. You're one to talk, little miss I overthrew the army. Just Sarah, technically, Tally points out, and even that didn't last. Nicta flinches at the reminder of the source of her stress, but swallows that down too. resting an affectionate hand on Tally's belly, she remarks. She's going to be stubborn, that's for sure. A bark of laughter bursts from Tally's lips. Wiping her eyes once more, she chuckles. Yeah, there's no escaping that. Smile soft and completely genuine, Nikta asks, would we want a kid who's anything but? Hell no, says Tally. There's a stray tear still sliding down her cheek, contrasting her grin, and Nikta instinctively leans in to kiss it away. I'm sorry, she murmurs, nuzzling the salty skin. I was a dick. Kinda, yeah, Tally admits. But Nikta can feel her smiling even before she pulls back to see it. Winking slyly, Tally tells her, save that for the bedroom next time. She gives Nikta's butt a pinch on the way by, and Nikta swears she feels a phantom twitch in her currently non-existent appendage. Tally grins, fully aware of the effect on her wife, and nods out at the aisle. Come on, let's go get those curtains. Once she gets her brain to start functioning again, Nikta gives her head a shake and follows after Tally. She's already halfway to housewares, her gazelle legs putting distance between them even at a leisurely stroll. Hustling to catch up, Nikta falls into step beside her and loops her arm through the one not bearing the bibs and onesie. I love you, she says quietly, looking straight ahead at the aisle of colorful towels on the horizon. Her guilt doesn't permit her to look anywhere else. Tally's arm shifts, hand sliding up to find Nikta's. Lacing their fingers together, she gives Nikta's hand a reassuring squeeze and extends her their arms, letting them swing loose and carefree between them. I love you too. Even when I'm being so... me? Nikta questions, only now chancing a sheepish, self-effacing smirk up at her wife. Especially when you're being you, says Tally, those eyes that were filled with tears now speaking with affection. Why do you think I asked you to marry me? The comment makes Nikta's heart flutter, a grin splitting her suddenly warm cheeks. Doing her best to wrangle it into a smirk, she teases, because you have a thing for MILFs and short emo girls? Tally scoffs and shoots her a glare at the not-so-subtle reference to her crushes of the past, or so she says. But Nikta can see the smirk lurking under the surface. That too. Uh-huh, says Nikta, grinning smugly and speeding up just a little. Tally retaliates by pulling her to a stop, drawing her back in and booping her nose. You are such a brat, she says. Those words remind Nikta of Sarah too, but she can only smile when Tally's giving her that playful, scolding look. Don't I know it, she says, stretching up to kiss her on the lips. Please find the fanfiction you just listened to on Archive of Our Own, and leave the author some love. Without them, this wouldn't be possible, and we want to thank them from the bottoms of our hearts for creating these amazing stories and keeping the show alive.